Hi, I'm Debbie Hartner.
I'm Elsie Johnson.
And we are two sisters, Southern Cooking. Good morning. We're back together again. It's been 19 days since we saw each other.
So, do you want to tell everyone why it's been 19 days?
Yeah. Without God's grace, I wouldn't be like standing here. I'm an ER nurse and I got COVID from one of my coworkers, and I know exactly when I got it, and I did really well. I got the Regeneron. I've been vaccinated. And I did really well with the whole thing. I caught the COVID pneumonia early before it started exacerbating and getting worse.
It's pretty amazing how vicious this virus is, because even though you were vaccinated, it was still trying hard to get into your lungs.
Yeah, it was. And I'm so grateful, because without God's grace, I would not be here, and I'm so thankful for that. And then we've had other things happen this past week. Our stepfather ended up in the hospital with emergency surgery. So he had an incarcerated hernia on Saturday night, and they did surgery early Sunday morning. So he is now coming home today from the hospital. So without God's grace, we wouldn't be here.
We have a lot to be thankful for.
Yes, we do. We do. And because of the Regeneron shot, Mom, Elsie, and Ben all got the injections because they were exposed to me, and they're all high risk. They all did very well.
And
nobody
none of us
tested positive. Yeah, everybody's been well.
I'm having a bad lupus flare, but other than that, but that was going on before all this.
So say prayers for her for this, because it's been going on for quite a while. So anyways, we are going to do a recipe that I saw on YouTube. I was just like, with my COVID isolation, nothing better to do but stay on my stomach and look at YouTube videos. So I ran across this video, and it's grandma's yeast rolls, and it was this guy's recipe that his grandma had, and I said, okay, let's recreate it, but let's recreate it with some added things in it. So we're going to do some things that he didn't do. We're going to do it in our stand mixer, and we're going to do it also with honey butter at the end.
Yeah, he did it by hand.
Yes.
And the fatigue I'm under right now, ain't no way I'm going to sit here for 10 minutes kneading dough, and
I don't want to do
it. Recuperating.
Yeah.
So we're not going to do that. We're just going to let the mixer do it for us.
That's right. We're going to do the cheater's way out. I did it actually while I was recuperating, and I did it in the bread machine, and honestly it was really delicious. But I tell you, I think it will come together much better in the mixer,
right? Because
of that, because I saw how it was, and I had to add extra flour in order to like tighten it up. And I don't want to have to do that if we can help it. So I think it would do better in the mixer. So we're actually going to do it with the paddle. So
we're going to mix it with the paddle, then we'll put the dough hook on to beat it. Okay, so I'm going to put the water in, and then I'm going to put my yeast. That is 110 degree water.
Yeah.
Which normally most of them are 105 to 115. This recipe specified 110. And then our sugar. And I'm just going to mix this real quickly, just so that it kind of stirs it together, and then it's gonna sit for a couple minutes to come to bloom. Okay, we're gonna let it sit for like 5 minutes and let it bloom, and when we come back, it'll be all frothy. Okay, y'all, it has been 5 minutes. It's nice and frothy now, so we're gonna add in our room temperature milk.
We're just going to mix this on low, just to just mix it together, and then we'll.
And this is our oil. And our salt. and our flour. Alright. Yeah, there we go.
And we're gonna just mix this till it's like a loose batter, and then we're gonna put the dough hook on.
Right. And then we'll let it mix for like 8 to 10 minutes until a ball forms. Right now it's really sticky. And we may have to add in a little bit of extra flour, but I don't want to add in too much because then it'll be really like floury, and you want it to be nice and just soft and pillowy. You don't want it to be so thick with flour that it makes it dense. Right. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna turn it back on, and we're gonna set our timer for like 8 minutes. And like she said, we may have to add just a little bit of flour in here to pull it away from the bowl, but we'll see in a second.
Remove the dough from the bowl when it was still kind of tacky because we wanted to make sure we kneaded it by hand to keep it soft and tender.
Okay, it just finished at about 8 minutes, and I scraped down the sides of the bowl. And now we're going to just knead it for a minute or two just to pull it together before we put it in our bowl to rise. So, and you want to make sure you have enough flour on your mat or whatever you're kneading this out on. This is very soft.
Mm-hmm. It's very soft.
And it did a lot of the kneading for us, so we don't have to knead it very long.
And if you push down on it with your fingers and it springs back, then it is ready and it's done.
Let's try it and see. Yep, it's
We're
ready to go. All right, we're gonna put it in an oiled bowl, and it's gonna rise for an hour to an hour and a half. So I'm gonna put it in here, and I'm just gonna roll it around in it so that all sides are covered. And then we're gonna just put it in the oven where it's a little bit warmer and just let it rise.
Then we'll cover it up. And then we'll be right back after its first rise. We're actually going to do 3 rises on this because the recipe said that he does it for an hour, hour and a half, punches it down, puts it back in for 30 minutes, gets it out, punches it back down again to get all the gas out of it, and then he
separates the rolls,
separates
and
them
then
up
you let it rise one more time.
for 45 minutes. So we'll be right back.
We got the first rise done. I'm gonna take the cover off of this, and I'm just gonna deflate it basically. Okay, so I'm putting the lid back on this. I just punched it down. I'm gonna put it back in the oven to let it rise again. It's gonna rise for 30 minutes for the second rise. And then we'll get it back out and we'll portion it out into rolls. We are now going to get this to where we can cut it up into the rolls.
And this is our 3rd rise.
Right, so I'm just gonna punch it down, and then we're gonna roll it up so that we can get the air out of it, and then we'll cut it up.
So soft.
Yeah, it is.
I love that. That's going to be the best rolls when they are soft like that and your dough.
Yeah.
You don't want tough rolls because then they come out tasting.
Right.
You want them to be able to be soft and flexible. You can do this by hand if you want to, but it takes about 10 minutes of labor of constantly folding and rolling the dough and manipulating it. So we're going to cut this into probably about 12 pieces. We'll see how many we have.
Right. They're pretty small when you cut them, but they do rise back up.
They rise big.
Yeah.
The ones that I did the other day were this high.
Okay, so we got 3. These will be our 6. Okay. Okay. All right, so now, here we go.
Okay.
All right, so now we just roll them over and under
Just like we normally do.
with our rolls.
Elsie has her little technique, I have mine.
Yep.
And they come out looking the same.
Yeah, they do.
Pretty. We are going to do honey butter on this though, because we are going to make it
I
like
love-
off the
yeah,
chain.
I
It's
love
going to
honey
be
butter.
so good. I'm telling you, the other day Ben told me, he goes, Deb, if you had some honey and be put on that instead of sugar, he said they would be as
I
good.
would rather use honey than sugar on
As-
rolls.
He said those would be just as good or better than the rolls that we have all the time, the Logan's
Right.
rolls.
Well, the Logan's rolls, I know the recipe by heart. I don't have to look it up.
That's so funny. Elsie makes it so much.
I do. I make it 2-3 times a week. And honestly, I wish I could make it like divide the batter in half, but I'd have to do a little research to see about how to do that, because
I think you could just cut it in half, like your ingredients, all of your.
maybe, because it's too much for 2 people. You get 12 rolls. It's way too much for 2 people. I usually save them in the pan that I bake them in, and I have a lid that fits on. And the next night I'll just reuse the same pan, heat it back up, and just eat the rest of them the second night. But it's too much for 2 people. But we love them, so we make them all the time. Okay, we're good to go. We're gonna let these rise for 45 minutes, and then we're gonna bake them at
370. Now
Yes.
this is not 375, this is 370, and we'll put them in the oven. And I found the other day that the magic number for this was
16, didn't you say?
Yeah, 16 minutes. That's my oven. Now you can do it between 15 and 17 minutes.
Well, what I usually find in my oven, because my oven has a hot spot in it, is I do half the time one way and then I rotate my pan and do the rest of it. So I would do 8 minutes one side and flip it around and do 8, and we'll see how it does.
Okay. And we'll do that, because I found that 16, because I put it at 16 and that's exactly was the perfect.
Right.
I mean, it came out just as beautiful on the bottom,
Right.
beautiful on the top. It was perfect. Pull it apart. It was so soft. It was delicious. Elsie.
And I'm Debbie. We're Two Sisters Southern Cooking.
And we thank you for visiting our page. Please like, share, and subscribe.
Thank you.
This show is produced by Two Sisters Productions, McRae, Georgia.